All right, we have two grappling superstars with us today. We have my friend Matt Granahan, and we got Jake Shannon. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Great. What's up, John?
How you doing? This is Matt's third time being on. You came on once alone, then you came on once with Larry Mazza, and now
Larry Mazza. Yeah. Larry's been a good buddy of mine. Jake probably doesn't know who he is. Larry's got a fight gym, but he's an old wise guy. He's got a book out. He's a real interesting dude.
Yeah. He did 12 years in jail for murder.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But
he's the nicest guy now, man.
Yeah, and that's how I met Matt, is because I'm from the same neighborhood as Larry in Brooklyn. I live in Jersey now. And then when I reached out to Larry, he goes, "Oh, you're from Bensonhurst? Yeah, I'll definitely come on." And he came on, and then I had him on 3 times. And the last time Matt was with them, and they were talking about, all kinds of stuff.
I was staying at his house. We were telling some crazy stories.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So I just wanted to lead in with this. I got this shirt I found. It was a tribute to Billy Wicks, and I wanted to open the show thanking Jake Shannon. Years ago, I was slinging beer. I was a regional manager for a group of breweries, and I was training at a little barbell club that this old timer Billy Wicks was running, and we became fast friends, and he became more of a not just a coach, a life coach, which Jake talks about in his new business training, but also a great friend and he gave me great advice. And John, you'll appreciate this, being a New York guy. Back in the day when I was having some personal problems with my ex and custody and child support issues with my daughter, the advice that the pops, as we called him, Billy Wicks, gave me was, he said, do what Sinatra says and take it nice and easy.
Yeah. That's all you can do with that shit.
Yeah.
That's a whole topic of it itself. But,
and I want to thank Jake, because a lot of people probably don't know that time with Pops, we had this idea back then to do this book, which was just an idea. And we probably would have never done it if Jake hadn't have introduced me to Eric Paulson. And it was crazy because everything happens for a reason. I was my national sales manager was out in Orange County, so we'd have these meetings out there, and I got a chance to hang out with Eric and train there with him and go out for brews with him, and that developed into this book, this Rough and Tumble book. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Jake. And Jake's the man when it comes to catch wrestling. I've dabbled in the catch wrestling stuff. It's been a wrestler since I was a kid. But Jake is the man when it comes to that. And you listen to shows like when The Undertaker was on Rogan's show.
I saw that, yes.
She talks about Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer stretching him, and Rogan has this great reverence for Carl Gotch, and Rogan starts talking about Carl Gotch, and that's wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Jake Shannon. So let Jake talk, but he's really been the man when it comes to catch wrestling and grappling.
Okay, yeah, Jake, tell us about catch wrestling and scientific wrestling.
Sure. And thanks, guys. And Matt, thank you so much, dude. I've known you, Jesus, man, it's got to be, I'm guessing, since 2008.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a minute. And, we both had a mutual friend in Billy Wicks, rest in peace. Great dude, so giving and so open and such a great human being. So I'm stoked that you got that shirt. That's a cool shirt. But, in your own right, Matt, you were able to do some things that I think were really crucial. I remember we were trying to figure out how to work together. I couldn't really figure it out back then because where I was at the phase of the business, it just was basically me. I didn't have a space to do more. But that's kind of why I hooked you up with Eric, because I was like, oh, man, you're like how I was. You're wanting to do something epic. And that book is really a great book, dude. And you've done great things.
What's
and
the
I
name
love
of
the
book
fact, Rough and Tumble.
Rough and Tumble. Okay.
And so, Matt, one of the cool things was, I think that because of the nature of your job, you were able to connect with a lot of the guys that I had made some of these connections with and kind of brought back into the consciousness, not just Billy Wicks, but Frankie Kane.
Oh,
and I'm very grateful for that, because Frankie deserves, so much, and he was in such bad straits. So I just appreciate all that kind of stuff that you've done over the years. And I appreciate that intro.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And another was old Red Bastine, man.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Red Bastine was the best.
Awesome guy in Dallas. And yeah, you're right. I had the freedom to travel too, because our company was bought out. And at that time I was put on a severance. So I was able to pursue all this stuff. And that's how I hooked up with one of my best friends, Kamal Shalaruse. Had the time in Austin to live there for a while and bum around and train with him and room with him. And it's just life's been a lot of fun, over the years. And Jake and I have kind of gone on in similar directions. And I love the stuff he's doing on the business side now. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I want to get into all the business stuff, but Jake is very, very famous for his coaching classes. So I want to see if you guys could explain to me and to the audience catch wrestling, scientific wrestling, and how you go about your clinics and so on and so forth, and how you guys get involved in MMA.
So I'm going to have to actually be quick, because dude, Matt is the man. I think you can attest to this, John. He actually got me another booking, and I got to do that in like 5 minutes. So I've literally got to go as quick as I can. So basically, in a nutshell, what scientific wrestling is I had this vision, I had this idea years ago, 2003, that what if WWE was UFC?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the high concept. At the core of it is this old sport known as catch-as-catch-can wrestling. It is where pro wrestling came from. It is where modern grappling and UFC came from. It's where collegiate and high school wrestling came from. And it's where like Olympic wrestling came from. Okay. So it is this like root that started in the 1870s in the north of England that was just so influential and is in like all the parts of our culture right now, but nobody knows it. Right? Because it's changed forms and evolved into these other forms. So my vision was, and part of the reason I was be able to connect with these guys that Matt mentioned, like Billy Wicks or Carl Gotch or Billy Robinson, Red Bastine, Dick Cardinal, all these old timers, was because I had this vision for basically making that old sport relevant again today in today's context. And the whole premise was effectively, let's have competitive pro wrestling again. Same rules. You could win with a pin or submission.
Okay.
That you see on WWE, but competitive like UFC.
But actual real. Okay.
Yeah. And so, I've dedicated my life to that, frankly.
And I just want to interject real quick again with what Jake's done. The level of competition and the catch wrestling tournaments. I did one a couple of years ago, and that was the lower level competition has grown exponentially because of Jake. And one of the things I want to talk to Jake about later is a couple guys that I think are name guys from the MMA world that I think would be great at competing.
Dude, let's go. Let's go, because this is where we're at now, dude. Like, I can't even believe it. I'm seriously getting chills in my arms because talking to Matt about this, Matt has seen the journey for the majority of my journey. Like I said, like he kind of came like into my awareness around 2008. Like, and he's a good sales guy. He got right up in there and he's like, dude, let's do something. But so he's seen this evolution, and man, it literally started out like from nothing. Like it was dead. It was dead. And like almost a joke. And what we've been able to do by, networking all these old timers, bringing in some high level guys onto our show. So if you go onto YouTube, my promotion, so the company's called Scientific Wrestling, which would be like WWE or UFC, but my show, which would be like Raw or SmackDown or, whatever, is called Shoot Pro Wrestling.
Shoot Pro Wrestling. Okay.
Yeah, and a shoot means a legit contest in like pro wrestler jargon, right? So it's Shoot Pro Wrestling. Go to YouTube. If you would look up Shoot Pro Wrestling 2, I held the first ever competitive tag team championship tournament, and it was won by my pal Brandon Ruiz, who's a world, like, this guy's a all-American in Greco-Roman. This guy's a third-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's a FILA World Grappling Games multi-time champion. So we're getting, like what Matt said, these like world champion level guys actually interested in this crazy idea of making pro wrestling real.
So now, where would somebody go to see one of your tournaments, and how does somebody go to one of your coaching classes?
Okay, if you want to train, coachingcatch.com. We do 10 different training camps a year. They're in Phoenix, Denver, San Diego, Ontario, California, and Phoenix. And that we tour that. We do one in the fall, one in the spring. Coachingcatch.com.
I'll make sure it's in the description.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And let me interject about the name you mentioned, Brandon Ruiz. Let me put that in perspective. In South Carolina, in the early days in MMA, the man was Kellyanne Dunson. He was main eventing all the shows. I used to train with him in my buddy Steve Volponi's garage, and Steve's a 2-time state champion in South Carolina. Kelly used to tap us at will. And Kelly lost to Brandon Ruiz at FILA Worlds. So that just shows you the level of athlete that Jake is. And it used to be, and I'll tell you example how it used to kind of be a joke. And like he says, back 2007 or 2008, when there were these tournaments, I'd had Volponi competed with me in one of them, and it was cake. And he was like, these guys are terrible. And now it's like, these are world-class grapplers that are doing it. And I mean, it's amazing what Jake's done in the last, what's it been, around 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, I will be honest, dude, like it got to where I had to pretty much dedicate everything that I was doing to really put the amount of effort required. And I'm going to be honest, man, like I'm kind of at my capacity. I'm a workhorse, dude. Like I'm totally type A, you know this, Matt, like I'm like produce. But dude, I need now to build an army of people that see the vision and like are trying to blow it up, because that's where we're at. Like, I feel we're in the early days of the UFC. Like if you were around and you saw that and it was real rough, but it was magical. You knew there was something magical there. That's where I feel that this is right now. I feel like we're just on the edge of just busting big.
Where can somebody see a tournament? Where can somebody come and see a tournament?
So we hold the Shoot Pro shows are like an invitational. So that's the high level guys. Okay. Those are all held in Denver, and that it's brutal because the altitude is like a puker, man. It kills everybody. So it's like another opponent these athletes have to face. Jake, it's really brutal.
Jake, you've done so much, and I'm going to give an example that relates to John. So John, remember when you were with me in Boca? Mm-hmm. And Dan Severin and I had to run, because we were going to do a coaching clinic at Unlimited Kickboxing.
And you had my shirt on.
I had your shirt on during the coaching clinic. That's right. Larry Matz's buddy, Phil Collins, not the rocker Phil Collins. Phil's around 60, 61, lifetime martial artist, right? And he says at the clinic, when he had me aside, he goes, my favorite of grappling, and he's mostly a striker, is catch wrestling. And he starts talking about Carl Gotch and Billy Robinson, and that's because of Jake Shannon. So Jake, down here in Florida, man, gyms like the Unlimited Kickboxing gym, Larry Matz's gym, there's a lot of people that we can pull together with our resources to help you grow this.
Well, let's talk. And speaking of, I got to jump to get on Hannibal now.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Jake, listen, thank you very much, man. And your podcast, what's it called, so people could see your podcast?
It's like this sign in the back, except it's backwards. I don't know. Yeah, number one podcast.
Number one podcast.
I still think Joe Rogan's the number one podcast, but It's like, it's really, I talk about what it takes to be number one, right?
Okay.
Like in all kinds of business, wrestling, all that kind of stuff.
Number one
Scientific
podcast.
history.
Number one podcast, coachingcatch.com for people that want to get go into clinics. And you also do business seminars. I'm going to put all that information in the description so people can easily get to it. And then I'm going to let you go do Hannibal. And Jake, much love, much respect.
Hey, we'll do it again when I have more time. And Matt, dude, you're the man. I appreciate all the help getting these bookings,
Thank you,
bro.
guys.
You're a beast.
Thank you,
You're a
brother. I
beast.
appreciate it.
Matt,
Hannibal's
thank you.
awesome. Have a great interview. I'm going to listen to it.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Take it
All
easy,
right.
guys. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Later, guys.